After Terence Crawford's monumental victory over Canelo Alvarez, the boxing world was set ablaze with discussion, debates, and a flurry of reactions from coaches, analysts, fighters, and fans alike. The win was not just another entry on Crawford's already impressive resume. It was a moment that shook the sport's foundations, redefining narratives and raising questions about legacy, future matchups, and the limits of weight divisions. Many figures spoke out, each offering their own take, either in praise, criticism, or disbelief, and the landscape of the sport shifted overnight. The talk about potential fights escalated quickly after the bout. Brian Bomack, McIntyre, Crawford's longtime coach, was asked about Turki Alalshikh's suggestion that Terence Crawford and David Benavidez should fight next. McIntyre did not mince words. He flatly turned down the idea, explaining that Crawford did not need that kind of matchup at this stage. He emphasized that after such a historic win, they were going to take time, sit back, and then eventually return to the gym and continue working as they always had. For him, chasing a fight with Benavidez, who operates at a higher weight class, did not make sense, especially given Crawford's accomplishments. McIntyre also addressed speculation about Jaron Boots Ennis, noting that sparring with someone like Ennis did not equate to fighting a complete athlete such as Crawford. He respected Ennis and his father, Bozy, but made it clear that Canelo preparing with Ennis for Crawford ultimately had no bearing on the result of the fight. He argued that Crawford was on a different level, and sparring sessions could never replicate what Bud brought into the ring. The entire Benavidez conversation, in fact, had started because of a social media post. Shortly after Crawford's victory, Turki Alalshikh, a major figure in Saudi boxing and one of the most influential men in the sport today, congratulated Crawford on his historic achievement of becoming the first fighter to be undisputed in 3 different divisions. He also thanked Canelo for his performance and for putting on a grand show. Then, almost casually, Alalshikh posed the question, could David Benavidez still make 168 pounds? That single comment sent Twitter and boxing forums into a frenzy, sparking debates and headlines. Suddenly, the notion of Crawford facing Benavidez was trending, despite it being an unlikely scenario. Greg Hackett, a trainer and commentator with sharp insights, weighed in on this development. He dismissed the reports of Crawford versus Benavidez as nothing more than noise driven by financial motives rather than sporting merit. Hackett believed the idea was pointless, stressing that nobody had even mentioned such a fight until now. He pointed out that Benavidez moving back down to 168 after settling at 175 would be extremely harmful to his body. Hackett argued that Crawford did not need a fight with Benavidez to cement his legacy, and Benavidez himself never cared about Crawford. His target was always Canelo because Canelo was the man at 168. Hackett concluded that Alalshikh was simply showcasing his promotional skills, attempting to stir interest and prove he could make blockbuster fights happen. In his view, it was more of a marketing play than a realistic matchup. Another debate emerged regarding Crawford's historical standing. Some experts noted that while Crawford was already celebrated as a 4-division world champion, he was not technically a 4-division undisputed champion. Boxing commentators like Showbiz the Adult raised questions about Crawford's resume, asking whether he had consistently fought top-tier opposition across divisions. Showbiz had often doubted whether Crawford deserved the highest praise, though even he admitted that Bud's victory over Canelo had shattered expectations. He confessed to losing a large bet because he believed Crawford had no chance at all. The improbability of Crawford winning against such odds convinced him that Crawford belonged on boxing's Mount Rushmore. For Showbiz, the result proved that not only was Crawford one of the greatest fighters of this era, but also that many top names had deliberately avoided him throughout his career. This, he argued, explained why Crawford had struggled for years to secure marquee fights and why his dominance was so underappreciated until now. The fight itself drew plenty of reactions from journalists and commentators. Dan Rafael, a veteran boxing reporter, gave his perspective, stating that Canelo Alvarez had started strong and won the early rounds. However, as the fight progressed, Crawford showed his mastery by taking over in the later rounds, pushing Canelo back and negating the supposed size advantage. Rafael admitted that while Canelo looked roughly the same size as Crawford in the ring, it was the Nebraskan's brilliance and tactical awareness that stole the fight. Rafael admired the way Crawford willed this fight into existence, saying that many people had laughed at the idea of Crawford even challenging Canelo. Yet Crawford not only made it happen, but won it convincingly, changing history in the process. Rafael still considered Canelo one of the greatest Mexicans of all time, perhaps even above Julio Cesar Chavez, but acknowledged that Alvarez had been in decline for years. Since beating Caleb Plant, he had not looked the same. His knockouts dried up, fatigue set in during later rounds, and age was catching up. Rafael described Crawford's triumph as a dream turned into reality, a victory achieved through sheer belief and persistence. Sean Zittel, another respected voice in boxing media, also analyzed the fight and Crawford's growing stature. He revealed that he had ranked Crawford as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter as far back as 2017, recognizing him as one of the best counterpunchers in the game. Yet, Zittel admitted he had never placed Crawford among the all-time immortals like Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Floyd Mayweather, or Sugar Ray Robinson. Instead, he had considered Crawford a notch below in the company of names like Oscar de la Hoya and Mike M.C. Callum. However, after Crawford's performance against Canelo, Zittel changed his mind. Crawford, he said, had shown that he belonged with the very best of the best, his technical mastery elevating him to legendary status. Zittel praised Crawford's punch resistance, noting that Canelo's power did not break him down, and instead Crawford grew stronger as the fight went on. His jab and reach troubled Canelo from the third round onward, and his efficient footwork and ability to control distance suffocated Alvarez's rhythm. According to Zittel, this fight proved that Crawford's greatness was undeniable. Even Canelo Alvarez himself showed humility in defeat. At the post-fight press conference, when asked to compare Crawford to Floyd Mayweather, whom he had faced earlier in his career, Canelo stunned reporters by declaring that Crawford was the better fighter. This candid admission spoke volumes about Crawford's skill level and about Canelo's sportsmanship in acknowledging his conqueror. Canelo also posted on Instagram afterward, reflecting on his career and expressing gratitude. Rather than making excuses, he thanked his team, fans, and especially his wife Fernanda for her unwavering support. He admitted that while he always wanted to win, he was willing to learn from defeat and take pride in all he had accomplished so far. His message conveyed acceptance and resilience, even as his future became uncertain. Former champions and analysts also weighed in. Jay Opataya, the Australian cruiserweight world champion, praised Crawford's intelligence, calling him a master technician. He was not surprised by the outcome, as he had predicted the fight would play out in Crawford's favor. For Opataya, Crawford's movement, accuracy, and strategy proved too much for Canelo. He insisted that Crawford's name now rightfully belonged in the history books, cemented among the sport's all-time greats. Lennox Lewis, the former heavyweight champion, offered his analysis too. He noted that Canelo fought in his usual style, but Crawford's elusiveness and speed were simply too much for him. Lewis estimated that Canelo only won about 3 rounds. He praised Crawford for his combinations, defensive skills, and discipline in not chasing a knockout, instead dominating with clean boxing fundamentals. Lewis was amazed at how Crawford neutralized Canelo, making him miss constantly while landing sharp counters. Keith Thurman, the former unified welterweight champion, described Crawford's performance as a boxing clinic. He emphasized that Crawford's ability to hit and not get hit defined the essence of the sport. Thurman explained that what the world witnessed was the highest form of technical mastery, a display of calmness, timing, and fundamentals. For him, Crawford had given fans a masterclass in the art of boxing, particularly impressive considering the doubts many had about him moving up in weight to face such a strong opponent. Timothy Bradley Jr., a retired champion and now a respected analyst, addressed the stakes of the fight. He stressed that the bout carried immense significance for both men's legacies. For Crawford, it was about proving that he could defy the odds and overcome size disadvantages. For Canelo, it was about preserving his reputation as the face of boxing. Bradley warned that a loss for Crawford would have been disastrous, painting him as reckless for daring to jump multiple weight classes. Instead, Crawford triumphed and flipped the narrative, showing that greatness is not confined to weight. Even when Crawford was asked about Canelo's punching power, he downplayed it. He remarked that he had been hit harder before, mentioning fighters like Egidijus Kavaliauskas as examples of men who packed more power than Alvarez, at least in his personal experience. His calm demeanor in addressing the question revealed just how composed he remained throughout the fight. The victory did more than just crown Crawford as the undisputed super middleweight champion. It rewrote boxing's historical records. He became the first man to hold all 4 major belts in 3 different divisions, a feat never before accomplished in the 4-belt era. He joined Henry Armstrong, who had achieved something similar in 1938 when there was only 1 champion per division, as one of the most versatile champions in history. Crawford screamed at the post-fight press conference, reminding everyone that for years critics had dismissed his opposition as nobotus. Now, after dethroning one of the sport's biggest stars, he demanded recognition. His words carried the weight of vindication, as he had finally silenced doubters on the grandest stage. The morning after the fight, fans and commentators continued to dissect the performance. Many agreed that Crawford's speed, timing, and intelligence were the decisive factors. While Canelo landed hard shots, he could not sustain momentum or break through Crawford's defense. Crawford made him miss, controlled the tempo, and forced him into awkward positions. The consensus was that it was not brute strength but skill and strategy that determined the outcome. For Canelo Alvarez, the defeat marked a turning point. At 34, with years of grueling battles behind him, he now faced questions about whether he should rebuild, change weight classes, or chase a rematch. His reign as the undisputed king at super middleweight was over, and the future remained unclear. Yet, the grace with which he accepted the loss earned him respect, even as his aura of invincibility faded. For Terence Crawford, the night represented the ultimate validation. Against all odds, he climbed through divisions, challenged the best, and emerged victorious in a fight that many thought impossible. He demonstrated that greatness transcends size and weight, that true mastery lies in skill, heart, and will. His name is now forever etched among the legends of the sport, from Robinson to Ali to Mayweather. The critics who once claimed he was boring or fought nobotus had been proven wrong, and Crawford stood tall as a three-time undisputed champion, the only man in history to achieve such a feat in the modern era. The reactions from across the boxing world made it clear that this was not just another fight. It was a seismic event that redefined careers, reshaped legacies, and reminded everyone why boxing is called the sweet science. Crawford's journey from overlooked contender to undisputed king of three divisions is now a story of perseverance and brilliance, a tale that will be told for generations.